Hello and welcome to the Industry Week Book Club. I'm your host, Laura Poutre, Senior Editor at Industry Week. Our guest today is Brandon Cornuke, Vice President of Strategy and Innovation at Northeast Ohio Manufacturing Innovation Hub Magnet, and author of The Value Proposition Matrix, an innovator's guide to 4 questions that separate success from failure. You can read an excerpt from the book that's up now on the Industry Week homepage. Welcome, Brandon.
Thanks, Laura. It's good to be here.
It's good to have you. Did you want to say a few words about Magnet and what you guys do, just to start off?
Yeah, I'd love to.
Okay.
Magnet is Northeast Ohio's preeminent center for manufacturing talent, transformation, and innovation. We help small, medium manufacturers all over the region grow and thrive, and that includes startup manufacturers all the way to established companies that have been around for a long time.
And you guys are opening a new headquarters.
We are thrilled about our new headquarters to be open October 28th in Midtown Cleveland.
That sounds exciting. Like there's a lot of training going on there, and just manufacturers collaborating at that location.
Yes, so we have on-staff engineers who are going to be doing real live engineering right in front of the community, but we also bring in students and folks who are interested in getting into manufacturing as a career, and we also help innovators while we're there.
So let's talk about the book. How did this, can you talk a little bit about what the value proposition matrix is and how this book came about?
Sure, absolutely. So I also, in my spare time, teach at Case Western Reserve's Weatherhead School of Management, and in engaging with clients through Magnet or at students at Case. I repeatedly got requests for more content about the kinds of things I help folks do, and that's really clarify the value proposition that they imagine they're bringing to the market, and how to go about taking steps to see if that value proposition makes sense, and if you're delivering value to the market that the market wants. And the real need I thought I saw in the market was for a really clear and simple framework to help describe that value, and then take the steps that you need to follow to figure out if that value proposition has merit.
And there's like 4 components of that?
Yes.
Right?
So the matrix itself is divided into 4 simple parts. It's really your customer, really your first customer, the problem they have, your unique solution, and the team that you are going to use to deliver it. And with those 4 things, customer, problem, solution, and team, you get a really clear value proposition.
So you've seen this in action, like helping manufacturers get their ideas off the ground?
Absolutely. So we use it with startups, with manufacturers who are looking to innovate. Really, anyone who's trying to develop new products and bring them to market. It helps develop what we call a hypothesis, like what you believe is true, and then go and experiment with it.
Oh, wow. So what are some, you've worked with a lot of startups and manufacturers introducing new products. What are some typical mistakes made in the early stage innovation process?
Sure. So we see that folks, first of all, I wouldn't call it a mistake. It's just uh, a challenge in describing their value, a challenge in saying, "Hey, this is what I'm trying to create." And if you can use those 4 components, it really helps crystallize what you're trying to do. But the fun part of the matrix is actually the 4 questions that it brings up. So once you say, "Hey, here's my customer, my solution, my problem, my team," it really begs you to ask 4 critical questions. These are what we call assumptions. It's that you're solving a real problem for that customer, a problem that matters, that your solution actually works, that you can deliver it to the market, and that someone is going to pay for it, what we call convert your customer. Those are the 4 key questions, or in this case, assumptions that you need to work on. If you're working on those 4 things, you're going in the right direction when it comes to early stage value creation.
And what do you usually see in that process? Do most ideas get off the ground? Like, what percentage would actually like pass all those questions? Would you say?
You know what? I'm going to be honest and say very few
Uh-huh.
get it right all at once, all at one go. It's often an iterative process that takes experimentation and understanding. Innovators come with a lot of passion about their ideas, but the best innovators understand that they can channel that passion into learning and have an open mind and go look for what the market is trying to tell them, and that's where those assumptions come in. If you're looking at those things, going out and figuring out, hey, is this an important problem, by listening to customers, for example, and talking to them and watching them in action, or to build things like prototypes to determine if what you're doing actually works. Those are the sorts of activities that drive learning, and that needs to be the measure of progress in an early stage venture is how much are you learning about what the market really wants.
Can you I don't I'm wondering if you can give an example of like a manufacturer who came in and what the iteration process involved with them.
Sure.
I don't you don't have to name any names,
Yeah, of course.
but it would be good to just have an example.
You bet. So when thinking about maybe an established manufacturer,
Uh-huh.
um, we had a client come to us who said, you know what, I've been making one widget for a long time, and in fact, I'm ready to think about creating something new for my market, but I really am struggling to understand what to do to take steps to make that a reality. I've got, do I invest a whole bunch of money in this one idea and just hope it works, or
Uh-huh.
is there a better way? And this is a story. It's very generic because I can tell it over and over. But effectively, what you can do is start to ask, hey, what are some hypotheses you have about the value you plan to create, right? In the form of a value proposition. Let's brainstorm those, maybe figure out if you have even more options, then pick your best one and let's go experiment with it. Let's go determine if the market needs it, whether that's going and just listening to your customers and saying, hey, is this really a problem that you're experiencing, or watching it in action, and then adjusting accordingly. That's a While I kind of watered that down into just about any version of what a manufacturer might think about when it comes to
Mhm.
innovating. It's a powerful story that happens over and over. If you can figure out your hypotheses and really dig into what matters in terms of vetting them, you're going to have a really strong innovation system on your hands.
Um, yeah, it sounds like the process is you know very streamlined there, and there's many iterations. And how long does it usually take to you know go through this process?
Yeah, I mean, the classic consulting answer is it all depends, right? Of
Right.
course, if it's building a prototype, it could take quite a while. If it's doing customer discovery, you could do it in an afternoon. And so it really depends on which value proposition hypothesis you're working on and which assumption you're really worried about in that case. But the most important part is having a deliberate step-by-step process to make progress and learn along the way.
You talked in your piece today about the difference between a prototype and a minimum viable product. Can you just talk a little bit about what that is? People get those
Yeah,
confused and why it's important.
happy to. People confuse them all the time, and it's actually really simple. A prototype is to determine if what you're building works. An MVP is determining if what you're building somebody will buy. And so it's really understanding, hey, can we put something into the market that determines if there's a market for it, somebody will buy it, or if it actually works when we try to test it, and understanding that there's a difference between those two things. And that's how you'd use a prototype versus an MVP.
Right. You mentioned, just to wrap things up, you mentioned the widget that you were talking about. Are there more like, does this apply to more like complex, innovations too? And
Yes.
what are some other things, that other innovations that have come out of the value proposition matrix?
Yeah, I mean, we've worked with everyone from artificial intelligence robotics to PPE manufacturing in the medical space, medical devices, advanced sensors. This applies wherever you're solving a problem, and I always say that every business is solving a problem.
Right. Well, thanks so much for talking with us today, Brandon. It's been great having you.
Yeah, it's been great. Thank you.
And the book is The Value